My name is Eileen, and at 28 years old, I thought I had finally figured out how to handle my family. I was wrong. On my birthday, while I sat in a conference room about to sign the biggest deal of my career, my phone lit up with a text from my father. 8 words that would change everything. 8 words that proved I had been nothing more than a backup plan my entire life. But what my parents didn't know, what they couldn't have possibly known, was that I had just shaken hands on a deal that would end their control over me forever. Before we dive into what happened, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. If you've ever felt like the forgotten child in your family, hit that like button and subscribe, because what comes next is going to show you exactly what happens when the underestimated daughter finally takes back her power. Stay with me, because what happened next changed everything about my relationship with my family. The morning of my 28th birthday started the way most of my birthdays had for the past decade. Alone. I woke up at 6 in my small apartment in Seattle, surrounded by the modest life I had built entirely by myself. My studio wasn't much. Just 400 square feet of space I could barely afford on my salary, but every single item in it meant something. The plants on the windowsill healthy and green because I actually took care of them. The framed certificate from my coding boot camp hanging above my desk. The second-hand furniture I had refinished with my own hands. Nobody had given me any of it. Nobody had helped me move in. I had done it all myself, the same way I had done everything in my life since I turned 18. I reached for my phone on the nightstand, already knowing what I would find. 0 notifications, no text messages, no missed calls. Not from my parents, Roger and Patricia. Not from my younger brother, Tyler. The silence was familiar, almost comforting in its predictability. Every year I told myself it would be different. Every year I was disappointed. But this year I had something bigger to focus on. Something that could change my entire trajectory. I pushed away the hollow feeling in my chest and got out of bed. Today was not the day to dwell on my family's indifference. Today was the day that could make or break my career. I had a meeting with investors at 2 in the afternoon, and if everything went according to plan, I would walk out of that conference room as the director of my own department with funding for the software project I had been developing for 6 months. I got ready with careful precision. Stopped at my favorite local coffee shop, the one where the barista knew my order without asking. Dressed in my most professional outfit, a charcoal gray blazer and black slacks that made me feel competent and in control. I looked at myself in the mirror and practiced the confident smile I would need for the pitch. The woman staring back at me looked capable, independent. Nothing like the uncertain girl who used to beg for her parents' approval. I arrived at the office at 8:30 earlier than necessary, but I needed the time to mentally prepare. The tech startup where I worked as a senior developer occupied the 3rd floor of a modern building downtown. Glass walls, standing desks, motivational posters about innovation and disruption. My colleagues were already trickling in, and when I reached my desk, I found a small cupcake waiting for me with a single candle stuck in the frosting. "Happy birthday, Eileen," called out Jennifer from the desk next to mine. 3 other coworkers gathered around singing a slightly off-key version of the birthday song. Their genuine warmth wrapped around me like a blanket. These people who had known me for only 2 years remembered my birthday when my own family had forgotten. The contrast was not lost on me. "Thank you," I managed, suddenly emotional. "This means a lot." "Big day today, right?" Marcus appeared beside me, my boss and mentor for the past 2 years. He was in his mid-40s with graying hair and the kind of calm confidence that came from years of experience. "You ready for the investor meeting?" "As ready as I'll ever be." I tried to sound more confident than I felt. "They're going to love it. Your software solution is exactly what the market needs. Trust yourself." I nodded, grateful for his faith in me. For 6 months, I had been working on developing inventory management software specifically designed for small businesses. The prototype was functional, the market research was solid, and the projected revenue looked promising. If the investors agreed to fund it, I would not only secure the future of the project, but also earn myself a significant promotion. The kind of opportunity that could finally prove to my family that I was not just lucky that I had not stumbled into success, that I had earned every single thing I had achieved. As I settled into my desk and pulled up my presentation slides for one final review, my mind wandered to the family dynamics that had shaped my entire life. Growing up in Portland, Oregon, I had always known I was different from my younger brother Tyler. Not different in personality or interests, but different in the way our parents treated us. The golden child versus the forgotten daughter. The pattern had started early and never changed. Tyler got a full ride to State University paid entirely by our parents. I took out loans for community college. Tyler received a brand new car when he turned 16. I bought a used 2005 Honda Civic when I was 21, working 2 jobs simultaneously to save enough for the down payment. When Tyler dropped out of university in his senior year to find himself, our parents supported his journey of self-discovery. When I wanted to attend a coding boot camp to transition into tech, they told me it was a waste of money for a girl. Family comes first. That was their motto, the phrase they repeated whenever they needed me to sacrifice something for Tyler's benefit. But I learned over the years that their version of family coming first always meant the same thing. Aileen gives up what she has, so Tyler can have what he wants. My car, that 2015 Honda Civic, represented more than just transportation to me. It was the first major purchase I had ever made entirely on my own. Every payment came from my paychecks. Every oil change, every repair, every dollar spent on that car was mine. I had paid it off completely just last year, and the feeling of owning something outright, something nobody could take away from me, had been intoxicating. That car had driven me to my first tech job interview. That car had carried all my belongings when I finally moved away from Portland to Seattle, putting 200 miles between myself and my parents' house. That car was freedom. 2 weeks ago, my parents had started pressuring me again. Tyler needed money for a business opportunity. Some scheme that would definitely work this time, unlike all the previous failed ventures. They wanted me to help him to contribute financially, because that's what family does. For the first time in my life, I had said no firmly without apologies or explanations. Just no. The tension since that conversation had been thick enough to cut with a knife. We had barely spoken since. I shook my head, forcing myself back to the present. The presentation slides looked perfect. My notes were organized. I had rehearsed my pitch so many times I could deliver it in my sleep. This deal meant freedom in a different way. Financial independence that would make it impossible for my parents to guilt me into anything ever again. The irony was not lost on me that on the same day I was claiming my independence, my family probably still saw me as the obligated daughter who owed them everything. My phone buzzed at 11 in the morning. I glanced at the screen and saw my father's name. A text message. For a brief, foolish moment, I thought maybe he had remembered my birthday after all. Maybe this year would be different. I opened the message and read the words that would shatter any remaining illusion I had about my place in my family. We sold your car. Tyler needed money for his business. Family comes first. Be grateful we raised you to understand sacrifice. Keys are at our house. I read it once, twice, 3 times. The words did not change. My hands started shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. Around me, the office continued its normal rhythm. People typing on keyboards, discussing projects, laughing at someone's joke. But I felt like I was underwater, everything muffled and distant. My colleagues noticed something was wrong. Jennifer asked if I was okay. I could not form words to answer her. I excused myself to the bathroom, walking on legs that felt disconnected from my body. Inside the stall, I locked the door and tried to breathe. How did they even access my car? Then I remembered. 2 months ago, I had driven to Portland for what I thought would be a nice weekend visit. I had left my spare key at their house hanging on the hook by the door where I always kept it when I stayed over. They had kept it. They had driven to Seattle, found my car in my apartment building's parking lot, and just taken it. My car was worth approximately $8,000. They had stolen $8,000 from me without asking, without permission, and presented it as a done deal. And the message. Be grateful we raised you to understand sacrifice. Not happy birthday. Not we're sorry. Just a command to be grateful for having been taught to give up everything for a brother who had never once sacrificed anything for anyone. I looked at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. My makeup was starting to run. My eyes were red. In 1 hour, I needed to walk into the most important meeting of my career and convince 3 investors that I was capable of leading a successful software division. I could not do that looking like I had been crying in a bathroom stall. I washed my face carefully, fixed my makeup, and made a decision. I would deal with my family after the pitch. I would compartmentalize this crisis, put it in a mental box, and open it later. They had already taken so much from me. They would not take this opportunity too. Back at my desk, I tried to concentrate on my presentation notes, but my eyes kept drifting back to my phone. I reread the message, each word digging deeper under my skin. The casual cruelty of it. The complete lack of awareness that they had done anything wrong. My best friend Dana texted me asking about birthday dinner plans. I wanted to tell her what had happened but could not bring myself to type the words. Making it real by saying it out loud felt like too much. Can't wait. Need it. I responded, keeping my message vague. Marcus stopped by my desk again at 1 in the afternoon. Investors arriving at 2. You ready? Absolutely ready. I lied with a smile that felt like it might crack my face in half. The next hour passed in a blur of forced focus. I printed my presentation notes with hands that would not stop trembling. My coworkers chatted around me about their weekend plans, their voices sounding like they were coming from the end of a long tunnel. I practiced the breathing exercises my therapist had taught me, the ones I had learned specifically to deal with my family's emotional manipulation. In for 4 counts, hold for 7, out for 8. It helped barely. At 21 years old, I had saved for 8 months to buy that car. Working at a coffee shop in the mornings and a retail store in the evenings, I had put aside every spare dollar until I had enough for a down payment. I remembered the day I test drove the Honda Civic. The salesman had tried to push me toward something cheaper, something more appropriate for a young woman with no credit history. But I had done my research. I knew what I wanted. I knew what I could afford. And when I signed the paperwork and drove off the lot, I had felt truly independent for the first time in my life. That car had represented possibility. It meant I could leave my parents' house where I had been paying $200 a month in rent, while Tyler lived there free. It meant I could take the job in Seattle that would launch my career. It meant I did not have to ask permission or explain my choices to anyone. Every payment I made was a brick in the foundation of my independence. And now they had just demolished that foundation without a second thought. My phone buzzed again at 1:30. My mother calling. I let it go to voicemail. Another buzz. Tyler calling. Voicemail again. Then a text from Tyler appeared on my screen. Thanks, sis. Dad said you'd understand. Business needs capital. The casual entitlement in those words made my blood pressure spike. Thanks, as if I had willingly given him my car. As if this had been my choice. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. Instead, I turned it face down on my desk and focused on the presentation one more time. At 1:55, Marcus came to get me. The investors were in the conference room. It was time. I stood up, smoothed down my blazer, picked up my notes and laptop, and followed him down the hallway. With every step, I pushed my family further into that mental box. This meeting mattered more than their betrayal. This meeting would determine my future. I could fall apart later. The conference room had glass walls and a large screen for presentations. 3 investors sat at the table reviewing documents. 2 men and 1 woman. Gregory was in his 50s, silver-haired and sharp-eyed. Hassan was younger, maybe late 30s, with the kind of intense focus that made you want to impress him. Justine was somewhere in between, with red-framed glasses and a reputation for asking the toughest questions. Marcus made the introductions. I shook hands with each of them, maintaining eye contact, projecting confidence I did not entirely feel. Then I launched into my presentation. Despite the chaos swirling in my head, despite the anger and hurt threatening to overwhelm me, my voice came out steady and clear. I explained the problem my software solved. Small businesses struggled with inventory management. Existing solutions were either too expensive or too complicated. My software was designed specifically for their needs with an intuitive interface and affordable pricing. I demonstrated the prototype, walking them through the features I had spent months developing. I showed them my market research, the surveys I had conducted with dozens of small business owners who had all expressed interest in exactly this kind of tool. The investors listened intently, taking notes. They asked questions, tough ones, and I answered each with specific data and real examples. I could see them getting more engaged, leaning forward, exchanging glances that looked promising. Then my phone buzzed on the table where I had set it down. The screen lit up with my mother's name. I ignored it and continued talking. It buzzed again. Another call. My concentration wavered for just a second. The investors noticed. "I apologize," I said, reaching over to silence it completely. Where was I? Right, projected revenue for year 1. I powered through the rest of the presentation, but that brief interruption had shaken me. When I finished, I could see the investors were impressed, but they asked for 10 minutes to discuss privately. Marcus and I stepped out into the hallway. He praised my performance, told me I had done an excellent job. I thanked him, but inside I felt numb. The moment we were alone, I checked my phone. 7 missed calls, 12 text messages. I scanned through them quickly, each one making me angrier than the last. From my mother. "Your father told me. Stop being dramatic. Tyler's opportunity is important." From Tyler. "Come on, it's just a car. I'll pay you back eventually." From my father. "You're not responding. Disrespectful. We did what's best for family." From my mother again. "Call us. You're overreacting." From Tyler. "Don't be selfish about this." Each message was a variation on the same theme. My feelings did not matter. My property did not matter. Only Tyler mattered. Only what they had decided was important. Marcus noticed my expression darkening and asked if everything was okay. I told him it was family stuff, that I would handle it later. He respected my privacy, but looked concerned. After 15 minutes, we were called back into the conference room. The 3 investors were smiling. Justine spoke first, telling me they were impressed with my vision and my execution. Gregory added that he saw massive market potential in what I had created. Hassan confirmed what I had been hoping to hear. They wanted to fund my project. The terms were better than I had dared to hope. $150,000 in initial investment for 30% equity in the new division. I would become Director of Product Development. My salary would increase from $65,000 to $95,000 annually. I would have a team of 4 developers reporting to me. The paperwork would be ready by the end of the week, and funding would be transferred within a month. I maintained my professional composure, negotiated a few minor terms, and shook hands on the deal. The investors left the conference room pleased with their decision. Marcus hugged me, genuinely excited about my success. I smiled and thanked everyone, playing the part of the grateful, thrilled employee. But inside, something else was happening. A cold, clear calculation was taking shape. With this new salary and the signing bonus they had mentioned, I was now completely financially independent. I did not need my parents' approval. I did not need to worry about their opinions. I could afford a new car easily. I could afford to cut them out of my life entirely if I chose to. This deal was not just a career achievement. It was my liberation. But the victory felt hollow. While I should have been celebrating the biggest professional win of my life, all I could think about was the casual cruelty of my father's text message. They had stolen from me on my birthday and expected gratitude. They had no idea what I had just accomplished. They still saw me as the obligated daughter who would eventually fall in line, who would accept their decisions without protest, because that is what I had always done. A colleague popped their head into the conference room where I was still sitting alone with my thoughts. They mentioned a small celebration in the break room at 4 to toast my promotion. I agreed to come, needing some semblance of normalcy to anchor me. The irony crystallized in my mind with perfect clarity. On the same day, my family had tried to exert control over me by taking my most visible symbol of independence. I had gained complete and total freedom from their control. They did not know about the deal. They had no idea that I had just become untouchable. They thought they still had power over me, that I would still bend to their will because I always had. They were wrong. At 4 p.m, my coworkers gathered in the break room with champagne and cake. Someone had clearly run out to buy both during the meeting. They toasted my success, and Marcus gave a short speech about how my hard work and dedication had earned me this opportunity. I smiled and thanked everyone, genuinely grateful for their support. These people, my colleagues and friends, were celebrating me. They saw my worth. They recognized my achievements. The contrast with my family was stark and painful. Dana texted me confirming our dinner reservation at 7 at the Italian restaurant we both loved. I decided I would call my parents before dinner. I needed to address the car situation before it festered any longer, and I needed to do it while the anger was still fresh, before the old programming of guilt and obligation could take hold. I excused myself from the celebration at 5, telling my colleagues I needed to make an important phone call. They understood, probably assuming it was related to the deal. I found an empty office, closed the door, and sat down at the desk. My phone felt heavy in my hand. I stared at my father's contact information for a long moment, taking deep breaths, preparing myself for what was about to happen. Then I called. He answered on the second ring. "Finally. Thought you'd never call." His tone was annoyed, not apologetic, as if I had been the one keeping him waiting, as if I owed him this conversation. The audacity of it steadied my nerves. "You sold my car," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Yes. Tyler explained his business plan to us. It's solid this time. Needs $15,000 to start. Your car covered most of it." "You had no right. It's my car. My name is on the title." "We're your parents. We co-signed your apartment lease 2 years ago, remember?" "You owe us." The lie was so blatant I almost laughed. "You didn't co-sign anything. I qualified for my apartment entirely on my own." "Don't talk back to me. We raised you. Family helps family. That's what we taught you." In the background, I heard my mother's voice. "Is that her? Put her on speaker, Roger." A click, and then both their voices filled my ear. "Aileen, honey," my mother said in that saccharine tone she used when she wanted something. "Why are you being so difficult about this?" "Difficult? You stole my car." "Stole is such a harsh word. We borrowed it. Tyler will pay you back when his business takes off." From somewhere further away, I heard Tyler laugh. "It's not that serious, sis." That laugh, dismissive and careless, ignited something in me. All the years of being told my feelings did not matter, all the times I had swallowed my anger to keep the peace, all the sacrifices I had made that nobody had ever acknowledged. It all came roaring to the surface. "Tyler, you're 25 years old. Get your own money." He must have taken the phone from our father, because his voice came through clearly now. "Wow, happy birthday to you too. Real nice attitude." "Don't. You don't get to make this about my birthday when you and Mom and Dad all forgot it until you needed something from me." "Look, Dad said you'd be cool with it. It's just temporary anyway." "Nothing with you is temporary. Remember the $2,000 you borrowed from me 3 years ago? I'm still waiting for that payback." "I said I'd pay it when I could." "You blocked my number when I asked about it after 6 months." My father's voice came back. "Enough of this arguing. What's done is done. Tyler is starting a food truck business. It's a legitimate opportunity. He's done his research this time." A food truck! He couldn't apply for a small business loan, couldn't research investors, couldn't do any of the actual work of starting a business. My mother chimed in. "Banks won't loan to him because of his credit score. Because he defaults on everything he touches. Because he has never finished a single project in his entire life. Because you keep enabling him instead of letting him face consequences." "Your brother is trying," my father said, his voice getting louder. "You of all people should understand that. You got lucky with your computer job. Not everyone has it so easy." The word lucky detonated in my brain. Lucky. As if I had not worked 2 jobs to pay for community college. As if I had not spent every night for 6 months teaching myself to code. As if I had not sent out 200 applications before getting my first developer position. As if everything I had accomplished had just fallen into my lap. Lucky. My voice came out sharper than I intended. I worked 2 jobs to put myself through school. I studied every single night. I built my career from absolutely nothing with no help from anyone. Don't you dare call that luck. And we're very proud of you, my mother said in that condescending tone. But family comes first. It always has. That's what we taught you. I realized in that moment that this pattern would never change unless I changed it. They would keep taking from me, keep expecting me to sacrifice, keep prioritizing Tyler over me, unless I drew a line they could not cross. The car was that line. So when are you coming to Portland to pick up the keys? My father asked. We need your signature on the title transfer so we can finalize the sale. The title is in my name. You cannot legally sell my car without my signature. A pause. Well, the buyer already paid cash. Tyler shook hands on the deal. Then you have a serious problem, because I'm not signing anything. My mother's voice went shrill. Aileen Marie, don't be selfish about this. The use of my middle name, the old manipulation tactic they deployed whenever they wanted me to feel like a child being scolded. It did not work anymore. Tyler spoke up again. Come on, I already spent some of the money on equipment for the truck. That sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. My father's voice turned cold. You will sign that title or we're done. You'll be dead to this family. Do you understand me? There it was. The threat they had always held over my head. The fear that had kept me compliant for 28 years. The idea that if I did not obey, if I did not sacrifice, if I did not put Tyler first, I would lose my family. But sitting in that empty office phone pressed to my ear, I realized something. I had already lost them. Or maybe I had never really had them at all. Then I guess we're done, I said quietly. My mother gasped. You don't mean that. I do. You stole from me. You chose Tyler over me for the last time. Ungrateful, my father spat. After everything we've done for you. What have you done for me? Name one thing you did for me that you didn't do twice as well for Tyler. I'll wait. Silence on the other end of the line. I could hear them breathing, could almost feel their shock that I was pushing back. That's what I thought, I continued. You can't name anything because there isn't anything. I've been on my own since I was 18 years old. Every achievement, every success, every good thing in my life, I built it myself. I was about to hang up when I decided they should know the truth. They should understand exactly what they had thrown away with their greed and favoritism. Actually, there's something you should know. Today, while you were busy stealing my car, I signed a deal. What deal? My father asked suspiciously. A $150,000 investment in my software project. I'm becoming director of product development. My salary is increasing to $95,000 a year. The silence that followed was profound. I could practically hear them recalculating, reassessing, realizing they had made a tactical error. Wait, seriously, Tyler finally said. Seriously, plus bonuses and equity. Want me to email you the term sheet? Oh, wait. I don't owe you proof of anything. My mother recovered first, her tone shifting immediately. Honey, that's wonderful news. Why didn't you tell us sooner? Because you never asked. You called me today to tell me you sold my property. Not to wish me happy birthday. Not to ask how I was doing. You wanted something from me like always. My father's voice took on a calculating quality I knew well. Well, this is excellent news for the whole family. No, this is excellent news for me. Just me. But Eileen, my mother tried again, family comes first. Now that you have this money, surely you can help Tyler with his business. You can afford to be generous. Tyler jumped in. Yeah, so you don't even need the car money then. I can just keep it. I laughed, a bitter sound that surprised even me. You're unbelievable, all of you. What's that supposed to mean? My father demanded. It means I'm done. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to return my car by tomorrow at noon, or I'm filing a police report for theft. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I have the title. I have documentation that it's my property. You took it without my permission. That's theft. My mother started crying. We're your parents. How can you threaten us like this? And I'm an adult whose property you stole. Return the car by noon tomorrow. What if we can't? Tyler asked. I mean, the buyer might not want to reverse the sale. Then you figure it out. You made this mess, you clean it up. Car back by noon tomorrow or I press charges. And I go no contact. You never hear from me again. You're being cruel, my mother sobbed. Cruel is selling your daughter's car on her birthday without asking. Cruel is prioritizing one child over the other for 28 years. Cruel is expecting gratitude for theft. My father tried a different approach. We gave you a roof over your head growing up. Until I was 18. Then I paid rent. $200 a month while Tyler lived there free. Remember that? That was different. It's always different when it comes to Tyler. Every excuse, every double standard, every time you bend over backward to accommodate him while I'm expected to just deal with it. I'm done with different. Tyler spoke up, sounding genuinely confused. So you're just going to abandon your family? I'm going to stop letting you use me. There's a difference. My mother changed tactics again. When you need us someday, don't come crying to us for help. I haven't needed you since I was 18 years old. I put myself through school. I built my career. I found my apartment. I bought my car. I did everything myself because you were too busy taking care of Tyler to notice I existed. We taught you values, my father insisted. You taught me I wasn't as important as my brother. You taught me my achievements don't matter unless they benefit Tyler. You taught me to accept being treated poorly and call it family. We love you, my mother said through her tears. You love the idea of me, the responsible daughter who cleans up messes and never complains. You don't actually know me at all. My father's voice hardened. Fine. We'll figure out the car situation. By noon tomorrow. And then what? You're really going to cut us off completely? That depends entirely on you. Family therapy. All of us together with a professional. That's the only way back. Therapy. My mother sounded horrified. There's nothing wrong with us. You're the one being unreasonable. Then I guess we have nothing else to discuss. Car by noon tomorrow. Don't contact me otherwise. You'll change your mind, my father said with certainty. You'll realize you're being too harsh, and you'll come back apologizing. I won't. Goodbye. I hung up before they could respond. Immediately the phone started ringing again. My father's name flashing on the screen. I blocked the number. Then I blocked my mother's number. Then Tyler's number. 3 quick actions that severed the toxic ties I had been carrying my entire life. My hands were shaking, but underneath the trembling was a feeling I barely recognized. Freedom. Lightness. The absence of a weight I had grown so accustomed to, I had forgotten it was there. I sat in the empty office for several minutes processing what I had just done. 28 years of putting up with their favoritism, their manipulation, their casual cruelty. And I had ended it with a single phone call. Part of me felt guilty, the part that had been trained since childhood to prioritize their feelings over my own. But a larger part, a stronger part, felt nothing but relief. At 7 that evening, I met Dana at our favorite Italian restaurant. She was already seated when I arrived, and she stood up to hug me the moment she saw my face. Dana had been my best friend since college, one of the few people who knew the full extent of my family's dysfunction. She had been waiting for this moment, I realized. Waiting for me to finally reach my breaking point. We ordered wine, and I told her everything. The investor deal, the text about my car, the phone call where I had finally stood up to my parents. She listened without interrupting, her eyes getting wider with each new detail. When I finished, she raised her glass. It's about damn time, she said, and we clinked glasses. You're not going to tell me I was too harsh? I asked. Too harsh, Eileen. I've been watching you set yourself on fire to keep them warm for 10 years. I've seen you cry after every family visit. I've listened to you make excuses for their behavior over and over again. The only thing I'm upset about is that it took this long. We ordered our food. She got the carbonara she always ordered. I got my usual mushroom risotto. As we ate, Dana shared observations I had not wanted to hear before. How I always looked exhausted after seeing my family. How my shoulders would tense up whenever my phone rang and I saw my parents' names. How I would dim my own accomplishments whenever I talked to them, making myself smaller so Tyler could seem bigger. I feel guilty, I admitted. Like I should have tried harder to make them understand. Guilt is their weapon. They trained you to feel it every time you prioritize yourself. Don't pick it up. You set it down today. Leave it there. The conversation shifted to the investor deal, and for the first time all day, I let myself actually feel excited about it. Dana asked about the software, the timeline for launch, what it would be like to manage a team. I found myself lighting up, talking faster, gesturing with my hands. This was what genuine enthusiasm felt like, without the burden of family disappointment weighing it down. Dessert arrived, tiramisu that we split between us. Dana mentioned casually that her cousin was selling a car, a reliable Toyota with low mileage and a good price. I told her I might not need it if my car got returned, but it was good to have a backup plan. We laughed about Tyler's previous business ventures. The dog walking service he had quit after 1 week because waking up early was too hard. The cryptocurrency investment he had lost entirely because he did not understand how it worked. The YouTube channel where he had uploaded 2 videos about fitness despite never working out, then abandoned it when he did not get famous immediately. He's 25, Dana said, shaking her head. When is he going to grow up? Never as long as my parents keep enabling him. Not your problem anymore. She was right. It was not my problem anymore. I had spent 28 years trying to be good enough, responsible enough, successful enough to earn equal treatment from my parents. And today, I had finally accepted that nothing I did would ever be enough. The problem was not me. It had never been me. We stayed at the restaurant until almost 10, talking and laughing. When we finally left, Dana hugged me tight and told me she was proud of me. I drove home in her car since I did not have mine, and she promised to pick me up for work in the morning. In my apartment, I sat on my couch and looked around at the space I had created. Small, but mine. Paid for by me. Filled with things I had chosen. No one could take this away from me. Not anymore. The next morning I woke up early and checked my phone. There was an email from Marcus with the contract for my new position ready for my review. There was also a text from an unknown number. My father using my mother's work phone to get around the block. Car will be at your apartment by 11. I did not respond. I got ready for work, choosing my favorite navy blue blazer, the one that made me feel powerful and in control. Dana picked me up at 8:15 and we stopped for coffee on the way to the office. I spent the morning reviewing the contract with the company's lawyer, signing the paperwork that made my promotion official. Director of Product Development. My name on the organizational chart. My vision being funded and supported. At 10:30, my apartment building's manager called me. My car was in the parking lot. The keys had been left at the front desk. I felt my shoulders relax, tension I had not realized I was carrying finally releasing. They had actually done it. They had returned my property. During my lunch break, I went to check on the car. It was parked in my usual spot, looking exactly as I had left it. I inspected it carefully, checking for damage or missing items. Everything seemed fine. There was a note tucked under the windshield wiper written in my mother's handwriting. We hope you'll reconsider. We love you, Mom and Dad. I crumpled the note and threw it in the nearby trash can. Love was not supposed to look like theft. Love was not supposed to require me to sacrifice everything while my brother sacrificed nothing. They could keep their version of love. I would build my own definition. The following days passed in a blur of activity. On Friday, there was an official contract signing ceremony with the investors. A small press release went out from the company about the new software division and my promotion. My photo, my name, my achievement. I posted it on LinkedIn, and congratulations poured in from colleagues, Former professors, old friends. Within an hour, it had dozens of likes and supportive comments. I knew some of those people were friends with my parents. I knew word would get back to them about what I had accomplished. But neither Roger nor Patricia reached out to acknowledge it. Tyler unfriended me on every social media platform we had shared. Their silence spoke volumes. They had not wanted to celebrate my success. They had wanted access to my money. Now that I had cut off that access, I was disposable. I did not care. Or rather, I cared less than I thought I would. The wound was there, the grief of losing the family I had wished I had. But I was not losing the family I actually had. That family, the one that stole from me and expected gratitude, was no loss at all. Over the weekend, I went apartment hunting. With my new salary, I could afford something bigger, something with a home office where I could work on projects. I found a perfect one-bedroom in a building with a gym and a rooftop garden. I signed the lease and scheduled my move for 3 weeks out. Everything in my life was expanding, opening up, becoming more than I had allowed myself to dream. On Monday, I met my development team for the first time. 4 talented programmers, all excited to work on my software project. We had our first team meeting in the conference room, and I led the discussion about timeline features and division of labor. It felt natural, like something I had been preparing for my entire life. Every challenge I had faced, every obstacle I had overcome, had built the skills I needed for this moment. But some nights alone in my apartment, I questioned whether I had been too harsh. I thought about calling them, apologizing, trying one more time to make them understand. Those thoughts usually hit me around midnight when I was tired and vulnerable. But then I would remember. The years of being treated as less important. The money borrowed and never returned. The achievements dismissed as luck. The car stolen on my birthday. And I would put my phone down and go to bed. Dana reminded me frequently that healing was not a straight line. Missing them did not mean I was wrong to set boundaries. It meant I was human, grieving the loss of the family I should have had, while accepting the reality of the family I did have. I increased my therapy sessions from twice a month to once a week. My therapist helped me process the family dynamics, introduced me to concepts like narcissistic family systems, golden child versus scapegoat. Everything made sense suddenly. The pattern had never been about me not being good enough. The pattern had been about my parents needing someone to sacrifice so Tyler could succeed without effort. They had cast me in that role before I was old enough to protest, and I had played it faithfully until today. But I was off the stage now. The show could continue without me. My parents sent one letter in the mail about a month after our phone call. I recognized my mother's handwriting on the envelope. I held it for a long time, debating whether to open it. In the end, I threw it away unopened. Whatever they had to say, whatever justifications or guilt trips or demands they had written, I did not need to read them. I had said everything I needed to say. The rest was silence. Tyler sent an email 2 months later asking for money for rent. He made no mention of the car, no acknowledgement of what had happened, just a casual request for $1,500 because his food truck business had not worked out and he was short on bills. I deleted the email without responding. It felt good. Saying no without explanation. Setting boundaries without justification. Taking up space without apologizing. 6 months after my birthday, I sat in my new apartment on a Sunday morning drinking coffee and looking out at the Seattle skyline. Spring was beginning to show itself. Trees were budding. The air smelled like rain and possibility. My software had officially launched 2 weeks earlier, and we already had 15 small business clients. The revenue was exceeding our initial projections. My team had expanded from 4 developers to 7. Everything I had hoped for was coming true. I had been on 3 dates with someone I met through a friend of a friend. Nothing serious yet, but he made me laugh and did not require me to be anyone other than myself. I had joined a book club through my building and made friends with 2 women who lived on my floor. I had started taking a pottery class on Thursday evenings just because it sounded fun. My life was full of people and activities I had chosen, not obligations I had inherited. My parents had not contacted me since the letter I had not opened. Tyler had not emailed again after I ignored his request for money. The silence from them was complete. Sometimes I wondered what they told people about me, how they explained my absence at family gatherings, whether they had crafted a story where I was the villain, ungrateful and cruel. It did not matter. The people who knew me, who actually saw me, knew the truth. Dana and I had dinner every week, usually Wednesdays. Marcus had become not just my boss, but a genuine mentor, someone who believed in my vision and supported my growth. My team respected me. My coworkers liked me. I was building a chosen family, one relationship at a time, with people who valued me for who I was, rather than what I could provide. I thought about the concept of family coming first. My parents had used it as a weapon, a tool to extract sacrifice and obedience. But I was learning a different definition. Family meant people who supported each other's growth. Family meant celebrating each other's wins without resentment. Family meant showing up on birthdays, remembering what matters, caring about each other's lives. By that definition, I had more family now than I ever had growing up. The grief came in waves, smaller now, but still present. I grieved the parents I should have had, the childhood I deserved, the brother who might have been my friend instead of my competitor. But I did not regret my choice. Every boundary I set made me stronger. Every time I chose myself over their expectations, I reclaimed a piece of my identity. I had learned things about myself in these 6 months. I learned I was capable of leading a team. I learned I could make difficult decisions and stand by them. I learned my worth was not determined by my family's assessment of me. I learned that freedom sometimes felt lonely, but loneliness was better than being surrounded by people who diminished me. Financial independence had given me emotional independence. With my new salary and the success of my project, I never had to worry about my parents' approval or disapproval affecting my choices. I could afford therapy, self-care, the life I wanted to build. Money was not everything, but it was the tool that had freed me from their control. I was 29 now, my birthday having passed a few weeks earlier. Dana had thrown me a small party with people from work and our friend group. They had remembered. They had celebrated me. They had given thoughtful gifts and made me feel valued. It was the best birthday I had ever had, and my parents had not been there to ruin it. Looking ahead to turning 30, I felt excited rather than anxious. The decade of my 20s had been about survival, about learning who I was, despite my family's attempts to shape me into someone convenient for them. My 30s would be about thriving, about building the life I wanted without apologizing for it. Sometimes people asked me if I missed my family. I told them the truth. I missed the idea of what a family should be. I missed the fantasy I had held on to for so many years, the hope that one day they would see me clearly and treat me fairly. But I did not miss the reality of who they actually were. I did not miss the anxiety before every phone call. I did not miss the disappointment after every visit. I did not miss making myself smaller so Tyler could feel bigger. The best birthday gift I had ever given myself was the truth. The truth that I deserved better. The truth that family was supposed to be a source of support, not a source of pain. The truth that I had the power to walk away from people who hurt me even if they shared my blood. The truth that I was enough exactly as I was without their approval or acknowledgement. I set down my coffee cup and looked at my calendar for the week ahead. Team meeting Monday morning. Dinner with Dana Wednesday evening. Pottery class Thursday night. Lunch with the woman I had been dating on Saturday. My life was full, rich mine. Everything I had built with my own 2 hands, my own determination, my own refusal to accept less than I deserved. Family comes first. I finally understood what that phrase meant. Not that I should sacrifice everything for people who took me for granted, but that I should prioritize the family I chose, the people who chose me back. And most importantly, that I should treat myself like family. Put my own needs first sometimes. Celebrate my own achievements. Protect my own peace. I was free. Not because my family had changed, but because I had. Not because they had finally seen my worth, but because I had finally seen it myself. The control they had held over me for 28 years had ended the moment I decided it would. They did not get to write my story anymore. I was the author now, and the next chapters would be ones I wanted to read. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is recognize when a relationship is costing you more than it gives you. Sometimes love means walking away from people who cannot love you the way you deserve. Sometimes family means choosing yourself even when it feels selfish, because you finally understand that taking care of yourself is not selfish at all. I thought about my car, that 2015 Honda Civic that had represented so much more than transportation. They had tried to take it from me, tried to take my independence and my autonomy. But I had fought back. I had reclaimed what was mine. And in doing so, I had reclaimed myself. The woman I was now, sitting in this apartment I had chosen, working at this job I had earned, living this life I had built, she was someone my younger self would be proud of. The girl who took out loans for community college while her brother got a free ride. The young woman who worked 2 jobs to buy her first car. The daughter who kept hoping her parents would notice her achievements. She had grown into someone strong enough to walk away, someone brave enough to demand better, someone wise enough to know her worth. And if my parents ever did the work, if they ever went to therapy and genuinely tried to understand how their favoritism had damaged me, if they ever reached out with real accountability and change, maybe there could be a path back. But that was their journey to take. I had done my part. I had drawn the boundary. I had stated my terms. What they did with that information was up to them. For now, I was focused on the life ahead of me. The software that was changing the way small businesses operated. The team that trusted my leadership. The friendships that nourished my soul. The goals I was setting and achieving on my own timeline for my own reasons. This was what freedom felt like. This was what it meant to finally put myself first. I stood up from the couch, rinsed my coffee cup, and started getting ready for the day. I had a brunch plan with friends in an hour, and then I was going to spend the afternoon working on a personal coding project I had been excited about. My time was mine. My choices were mine. My life was mine. And that was the greatest gift I had ever received. Not from my family, but from myself. The gift of recognizing I deserved better. The gift of having the courage to claim it. The gift of understanding that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let go of people who refuse to see your value. Sometimes the best birthday gift you can give yourself is the truth. And the truth was, I deserved better. I always did. Before you go, I want to ask you something. Have you ever had to set a difficult boundary with family? Have you ever felt like the forgotten one, the one who always had to sacrifice? Drop a comment below and share your story. You're not alone. And if this resonated with you, hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories about finding your strength and reclaiming your power. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's still trying to earn love from people who should give it freely. Thank you for being here, for listening, for understanding that sometimes the hardest choices are the ones that set us free. I hope you find the courage to choose yourself, to set the boundaries you need to walk away from anyone who makes you feel small. You deserve people who celebrate you, who remember your birthday, who see your worth without you having to prove it over and over. Take care of yourself. You're worth it. I promise.